Hello guys, I'm Komashko, the host of Eco's Talk Show, where we speak with Web3 industry experts. And today our guest is John Sneisen, a monetary historian and a macroeconomics analyst. So, hello John.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, could you first of all introduce yourself, tell a bit about your background to our listeners for them to understand who you are?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I started out in the telecommunications industry in Norway. So I grew up in Norway and did that for many years. I was involved in a lot of business opportunities with my dad. He had his own business and so on. So I got introduced to business and that side. But with my telecommunications background, I always, had interest in technology. So, but that comes later on. So in 2008, I went to the United States. I went to a conference there, and I remember a guy that spoke there was Robert Kiyosaki, and so he basically blew my mind. I was like a Norwegian kind of socialist guy. I didn't understand money very well. And so at that time, I started to read his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I found out he had other authors that he's, had on there, which one was Mike Maloney, and he had a book called Investing in Gold and Silver, and from that, I just dove down the rabbit hole of money and macroeconomics and monetary history, and after that, it's kind of, since 2012, I had my little organization called The Economic Truth, where I analyze stuff and I do speeches across the world and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're also doing consulting in crypto, right?
Yeah, I do. I do every now and then. I do consulting in crypto as well. There's a lot of people that have had interest over like here in Manitoba. I live in Manitoba, Canada. They're quite after the wave usually. So I've been on radio here a few times talking about crypto and so on, and just meet with people in general to help them get involved and understand how to use crypto properly. Because a lot of people just go on an exchange and then think they have it there. And here in Canada, we had the big Quadriga CX that collapsed. And so trying to, educate people on the importance of self-custody of any asset that you really own, no matter if it's crypto or if it's precious metals or if it's other types of assets. So, yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting how you got into crypto, why you decided to move a bit there.
Yeah, it was in 2013. I remember I spotted Bitcoin because I was into monetary history and people introduced it to me, and I was blown away by its strength in the algorithm that 21 million is the set point of the circulation of crypto and forever, and studying monetary history and like you're in Turkey, and Turkey is written with history of monetary inflation, so.
Yeah.
Studying that, I got very interested in Bitcoin because I love still gold and silver. I'm one of those guys that are not on either side. I love both. So, but yeah, it's I just saw it then, and then there was a I think it was CoinFest it was called, and they had a local event here in Winnipeg, and I did the first ATM transaction of a crypto to from cash to crypto in Manitoba, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, it was at that time I was very interested. I've been in and out of Bitcoin. I wish that I wasn't so dumb with technology to start with. Like what happened in 2014, I lost 8 Bitcoins in a scam.
Oh,
and, yeah. So it'd be nice to have them now, but again, I do have some Bitcoin. I do have other crypto. I'm more into other cryptos right now. One of the major things that I look at for myself is personal freedom when I invest in things. So how can I exit out of any investment that I put my money into? And the importance is that you can actually access that asset at the point of you wanting to use it. So with crypto, it's really great. Bitcoin is great as well. But what I see with Bitcoin is it's a completely open blockchain. So with that, you will also have sinister actors like governments, wanting to find out if you're dealing in crypto so they could tax you because they want to take as much money as they can from you in taxation. Yeah. And in Turkey, for example, Turkey is the biggest in the world when it comes to black market. I call it the free market. People that are, dealing outside of the tax, structure of the countries. And my home country, Norway, was number 3.
Oh,
So
really?
because, yeah, we got extremely high taxes in Norway. So that was one of the reasons why I came to Canada. But now, of course, that has changed very much with Trudeau and his government. They taxed everybody. Well, they're starting to get to a level of Norwegian taxation, which is pretty sad. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I see. I see. Okay, and as a monetary historian, what do you think of the current situation? Where are we now? Because recently we had an interview with another expert. He said that he has an opinion that dollar is dying, and pretty soon it will lose its power.
Well, so like look at that global currencies that have been used. Gold has been used most of the time throughout history. It wasn't really a currency or so on, or usually it was backed by gold, most of the currencies. So we haven't really seen like paper currencies being used so much in global trade, but having a global reserve currency means that, the majority of transactions are done in US dollars, for example. So I have another opinion on top of that, which I do. The dollar is going to die, but what's going to happen is you're going to have periphery currencies because the US dollar is still the backbone of the economy. Now, of course, a lot of countries are exiting, the SWIFT system and trying to avoid it, because who wants to be a part of a system where you have a bully, constantly like taking away your abilities to trade, freely between other nations or whoever you want to deal with, right? So that on that side, yes, that's coming. Like a lot of people are exiting because they don't want to be a part of the SWIFT system that, the US dollar and the Western nations and banksters control, right? So they don't want to be part of that. But on the other side, you also have like nation currencies around the world are extremely weak. Actually the strongest currency right now is the dollar. And then you have all the other ones are very weak. But the problem is the US dollar is weak as well. Nobody seems to understand that the US dollar is weak as well on top of all the other currencies. So currencies in general are, they're gonna join my wall, like my history wall here of currencies that fail. And so there's nothing exiting out of that. Yeah, the US dollar will fail, but I think most other currencies will fail before the US dollar, to be honest with you.
Really?
In that opinion. Yeah. So because like you gotta remember, like it usually take a life cycle of a currency. It's usually 40 years, 50 years. And what happens is you create a currency, but if you have a currency that you're allowed to create more units of, you're gonna do that. It's very tempting throughout history. And of course now, during COVID, like 2021, 22, that currency creation has been rampant around the world. It's been pretty much like on a historical scale, it's starting to get to that hockey stick moment. If you draw out the chart of supply of currency in all kinds of currencies, you'll see like hockey sticks everywhere, and that's like we start to near a way more problem. But with the currency's failure, everybody thinks that it's just going to continue and continue. Yeah, but there's a point. There's an inflection point when you have a currency and you trade with it. When people find that the currency, and you've probably seen this in Turkey, and I heard a lot of rumors about what's going on in Turkey, is that people don't want to have the Turkish lira anymore. They're trying to either if when they get their salaries, let's say in Turkish lira, they would try to then swap it either to US dollars or euros, or they try to go to gold. I heard even stories about people storing their value in used cars, because when the trust when the trust in the value of the currency happens, it's like a shock to the world. And then what happens is it could come through a like in Venezuela, it came through the oil prices dropping drastically. The government was they needed their oil to stay at $130. Well, oil dropped to 30 back in 2016, I think it was. And then so what happened was that they had to print an exorbitant amount of currency to then provide the programs that they promised to the people. But that created an inflationary shock. So suddenly there was a huge oversupply of currency that came in at once. Let's say food prices jumped, 100%. Well, at that point, people would be like, well, my salary is not keeping up here. And when they get to the point where like, I'm not going to use the currency anymore, I had enough of this. So basically at that point, that's the death of the currency. When people are trying to look for other alternatives to the currency, it usually takes a month to 6 months for that currency to die completely. And it's all based upon trust. All of these currencies, and a lot of, the currencies that are created in crypto as well, they're all based upon that we trust that they have value. Now, of course, you can't print Bitcoin, which is a good thing, and a
Yeah.
few other ones that have a set supply. But again, you could at one point, I'm trying to talk to the Bitcoin people as well, you could at one point be like like these guys, be like, well, how about we create the algorithm to have maybe like 30 million Bitcoin or 40 million Bitcoin? And then be like, well, Bitcoiners are like, well, that's not real Bitcoin then. You
Yeah.
forked it. But again, that could most definitely happen through history because it's creating more, like we think that we create all this currency, we create more wealth, but we don't. The real wealth in the world is everything that surrounds us. It's not in the digital world. It's not our paper currency. It's our real wealth. It's our houses. It's our, the food that we grow and all of that. That's wealth, not all the stuff that we see, like with currencies and so on. It's wealth to a certain extent, but again, unless you are able to buy something with that, it's not real wealth until you actually hold something that is true of value to the general public.
Yeah. And I also wanted to ask you about the wealth insurance instruments that you're talking about.
Yeah, wealth insurance is probably one of the most lacking insurances in the world because most people don't think about, having a wealth insurance. Why should I have wealth insurance? Like, what am I insuring? Like, am I insure? How do I insure my wealth? Well, like through times that we have, and time again, people that have had, their wealth stored in paper currencies throughout history. And let me tell you a quick story about a friend of mine from Argentina. Well, he had in the 80s, his dad lived and he was about to retire. Well, overnight they had a bank holiday, which is infamous for banks when they want to do something sinister in the government. They want to devalue currency. So what happened is he had, let's say, saved up let's say like $1 million. Well, overnight, what happened, he had it in pesos, in Argentinian pesos. So let's say 1 million pesos. But what happened overnight is that purchasing power, so the amount of goods and services he could buy with that dropped by 75% overnight, like that, like a flick of a switch.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
awful.
so that's one of the ways. We have the hyperinflations there. They happen over 1 to 6 months, but you could have an event like that. And so that happened in the 80s. So he told his son, like, oh, you got to go into US dollars because US dollars are the strongest currency. Well, what happened in Argentina, what people don't understand about their banking system is you can have your money in a US dollar account, and he had it in Citibank, which is an American bank. So you think that, oh, now it's outside of the country, like it's not to worry about what they're going to do with it, the Argentinian government. Well, all countries own their banks. So you have banking license within your country. So you have a Turkish banking license, you have an Argentinian banking license, or Canadian. So that banking license is under Argentinian regulations. So what happened is that they actually took his US dollar account, traded it into pesos, and then devalued it overnight again. And so he lost, I think, 90% of his savings. So the importance is to try to, like, when you save something, and this is where wealth insurance comes in, have it in something that the government can't print. They can't just do that overnight. Have it, if you have self-custody over your Bitcoin, or I have Monero, for example, I love privacy coins. If you have those things in your own possession in a little wallet, like in a USB stick, not on a Coinbase or Binance, for example, because then you're at risk of the same damn thing as, the banks could do. You've seen that actually happen with so many exchanges where they fail. It's the same, like, exchanges to me are nothing better than banks. Like, they just promise to pay you, but what if they don't have it, right? So that comes in. So that's why you need to hold assets yourself. Like, I hold a lot of gold and silver in my possession because if let's say, the currency, like here in Canada, they doubled the currency supply in 2 years. They created that much more currency, and prices are up anywhere from, they say officially it's about 5-10%. But if you go and look at real things, I purchase in my second job, in my regular job that I have, I purchase electronics, I purchase copper cable and so on. So what happened to that is up like 50 to 100% a lot of times. And so if I had something that would protected me, or if you even had those products prior, they went up in price. Why? Well, it's mostly because of the increased supply of currency into existence. It's not about corporate greed and all the stuff that you hear around from socialists and so on. It's mostly because government created an atrocious amounts of currency. So if you have that in protecting, and then gold and silver is another fantastic way of saving. That's been proven throughout history. Now, Bitcoin is a very new thing. I really hope that it will turn into a wealth insurance. It's still digital, though. So you could still have it wiped out somehow easily. So that's why I love to have both. I really love to hold like my crypto, like privacy coin. As I said, Monero is one of my favorites. And then the Bitcoin, I hold that in my wallet, like in a physical wallet that nobody else owns but me. And then I also hold my physical precious metals. I'm not buying an ETF. Like now they're trying to create a spot ETF with Bitcoin. Well, it's like, look at what they've done with gold and silver, controlling the price of gold and silver with the bankers trading fake paper for them back. It's not, a lot of it is not even backed by proper gold and silver. And it's the same with what they're doing now with Larry Fink and all the other bankers. They want, like, everybody's so excited about it. Like, oh, the bankers are going to finally, tapping out. Well, they just want control over it. And with running a spot ETF like they're trying to do, that is just going to make them, like, oh, this is the price of Bitcoin. It's not like the supply of Bitcoin. It's the price of Bitcoin that we provide to you. So it's a similar thing. But yeah, with wealth insurance, it's so important to have as a person. I have it as a little bit more than the general public would feel comfortable with. I have like 30% of my portfolio in wealth insurance instruments. But even Wall Street tells, the ultra wealthy to have their money in gold, like 5 to 10%. Well, add crypto into that. Add, like the solid big currencies like Bitcoin, or if you want more privacy, have the privacy coin like Monero and so on into your wealth insurance portfolio. So it's not to like, and with that, I couldn't care less about the price. Like what it is there for is to protect my wealth over longer periods of time. It's not overnight, like day trading or anything.
Yeah. Okay, and still, when it comes to crypto, what do you think? How can the development go, the further development?
No, I think crypto is going to be further, implemented into things. Of course, right now, like we're seeing the stock markets are collapsing. Actually, they're not. But when I just about to post a chart, which just blows my mind about the global stock markets. Let's see if I could pull it up here. It's from a derivatives platform. Here we go. So actually, so this is like this data has not been provided before the global financial crisis, but since the global financial crisis, never has equity IPOs, secondary issuances, and total CSs and preferred stocks have never had a massive drop like this. It's down 64.3% year over year, and that has never happened. The closest it's been total year over year has been 16%. It's down 64%. So what we're seeing is, and that's going to actually come into a lot of the crypto market, because a lot of the crypto currencies out there are actually independent exchange. It's like the IPOs. It's an EAO, like an independent exchange offering, or an ICO, right? Like it's the same thing as an IPO, where they issue shares, which is now tokens instead. And so a lot of these cryptocurrencies that just have a product, for example, that they're trying to provide, they're going to get whacked pretty bad, like with what's going to happen within probably maybe at the end of this year or the start of next year. We're going to see a heavy deflation, because what's happening that has never happened since the 1930s in the United States is that the currency supply is now actually shrinking for the first time ever since 1933. And what happened in 1933? The Great Depression, right? So we're seeing, so our monetary system that we have needs constant growth, because when you create $100, you also charge an interest on that created dollars. Well, the problem is there's only $100 in existence, but you might have another $10 in a charge on that interest. Well, if you paid off the $100, there would still be $10 of interest owed, and you would be bankrupt. So our monetary system is a Ponzi scheme. It needs constant growth. And with that, that's why, everybody's so excited when everything goes up. But if it doesn't go up, and it shrinks, there's not going to be enough currency to pay off all the debt in the world. And that's just going to cascade into a massive collapse. But again, what's going to happen, I think, is that in 2008, the governments came in, they intervened. In 2020, they came in and intervened, the central banks, by buying everything. And I think that's probably what they're going to do again, but they're going to overreact. They're going to panic in a big way and overreact. And when that happens, you could see, again, some bump in IEOs and ICOs and in the stock market. But the problem is you're going to have the problem of the Venezuelan stock market went up millions of %, right? You would think that'd be super rich. Well, no, because the currency lost 3 million %. So again, like they still lost money being in the stock market and so on. So what you need to focus on right now is not the new shiny thing, that you can just gain a tremendous amount of value on. If you have money to gamble, of course, but if you want to stay safer right now, try to find really solid, projects that you could get, put your money in if you're in the crypto space. Or if you want to buy stocks, find stocks that are solid. My stocks are mostly in commodities. I actually buy energy producers. I buy the backbone of the real economy. They're still going to be there. Different projects that create, whatever type of projects might disappear overnight and become worthless. So I think it's very important to try to find for the future, try to find projects that, will enhance our capability as human beings and give tremendous value. Instead of there's a lot of projects out there that are just very fluffy and they look very fancy and so on. And there's a lot of marketing behind them. But I would try to look for things that to put my money into that actually have value. Now, I put money into my garden, for example, because I see my garden as value, right? It can produce. I could print money by printing more fruit in my or vegetables in my garden. Right? So, but with stocks, you could in a business, they could suddenly issue more stocks and then they dilute your value, and more tokens, and they could dilute your value, right? So, yeah, I would say try to find really valuable and just try to study and find out what really produces value for human beings, because if it doesn't, and most likely you're going to go to zero at one point. It might be going up like crazy right now or something. But over time, because hopefully we're going to live until we're, 80 to 100 years. So we need to, look for that time span. I know today, most people are almost month to month or year to year when they look at their investments. But, try to look at that lifespan of your life and want to create a legacy for yourself and your family.
Yeah, I agree. But if we are talking about crypto, would it be okay? Would it be better to invest in Bitcoin, as it's not? It doesn't look like some, as you said, fluffy project which has a lot of marketing and things like that. But still, it seems to be more solid rather than many other.
I remember I talked about it as wealth insurance, not as a part of the crypto industry. It's more because it was structured based upon gold, right? When Satoshi Nakamoto created the mining aspect, which you mine gold out of the ground, right? And so he saw the value in that. He understood the value, and he understood probably monetary history when it was created, that you need a solid supply, you need a solid staying supply of the currency. You can't let anybody just fool around in it and create more units. So Bitcoin by far, in my opinion, and I like Monero. I know that the Bitcoin maximalists wouldn't like me when I say that I like other cryptocurrencies, but I couldn't care less. But again, I do like things that have set values and that I could be able to use. So I my crypto portfolio, I have most of my currency, cryptocurrencies in those type of solid wealth insurance. But I also have other tokens that I use. I like Tron, for example, is a good, I had that one for 4 or 5 years now. And just, I'm a lot, I'm not the trading guy, so I just buy and hold mostly my investments when I do invest. And then I look for, 100, 200% gain. And then I'll sell everything until what I invested initially. And then I'll let that initial investment then grow again and so on. And then I put that maybe into some wealth insurance and so on.
Okay, so yeah, perfect. Okay, I think that I have no more questions so far. Thank you so much for this discussion. And right now, as always, at the end of our interview, we have a giveaway for our listeners who can send questions, come up with an interesting question to John to continue this wonderful discussion in comments under this video. So guys, you're welcome to send your questions, and in several days, we'll select one of the most interesting one, and its author will get a free Bitcoin mining contract from Ecos. So good luck with that. So thanks so much, John, for being with us
Yeah,
today.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's my pleasure. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun talking with people from around the world, so I always enjoy that.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, you too.